This season, Arsenal had their best season in years, and they very nearly even challenged Manchester City for the title. It does, though, mean that they head into this summer transfer window from a real position of strength, and with a fantastic, exciting young side and a really good manager in Mikel Arteta. The right recruitment this summer could see them cement their place in the top four and maybe even challenge at the top once again. In today's video, I'm going to do a realistic rebuild of the squad. I call it a realistic rebuild because that's the type of title that gets people to watch it. But really what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through their summer transfer business and sign who I think they are realistically going to be looking at. Maybe talk about one or two of the options that they could go for as well. Set up the side how I think they're going to set up for next year, and then simulate a season and see how they do. Will they be able to go as close to Manchester City as this year? Will they even be able to pip them to that title? Will they win a trophy? We're going to find out by having a look in Football Manager 2023. Let's talk transfers. Let's talk Arsenal. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another one of these realistic rebuilds that we are doing then, where we look at the transfer business that might happen for some of the clubs. I'm going to do this for a whole range of clubs, I think, over the summer, because one of my favorite things about football is talking about transfers. I find it so interesting. The recruitment side, the squad building side. Then we've got Football Manager to use to try and see how it works out and simulate with too. It's a lot of fun. We're going to do it for loads of clubs. Today, it's Arsenal. They're off the back of finishing second behind Manchester City. An amazing season from Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. They got themselves 84 points. Wasn't quite enough. I think really you need to try and get close to that 90 points mark if you're going to beat City to a title, it seems. But they're pretty good overall, weren't they? Did they bottle it? That's a question that you can put down in the comments down below. But either way, a second place finish, Champions League football back on the menu for Arsenal next year. They're going to have money to go and splash. They're going to go and spend money because they're linked with some really interesting players. Players like Declan Rice is the big one. If they can go and get him, I think it's going to strengthen them. You'd expect them to go again next year. We're going to talk about that in today's video, starting from this position here, where I've loaded in the tactic basically that I think they're going to play. I've also loaded in an up-to-date database, which this save file, as well as any of the other save files that I use today, which will be after the transfers are in and after the season is simulated, will all be on the Patreon. Thank you so much for all of the support over on the Patreon. We went over 100 patrons, which is just incredible. Thank you so much. If you want the save files, they will be on there. And also, subscribe to the channel. Whilst I do some plugs right now, thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed recently. We're pushing towards 50,000. That's the aim. Can we get 50k before FM23? Thank you so much, everyone who has subscribed. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to go and do all of these clubs. We'll do a United one. We'll do a Newcastle one. Maybe even go and do teams like Brighton. Villa's quite interesting. They've just signed, as I record this, Yuri Tielemans. Spurs will be really interesting. Chelsea, oh my word, how interesting. These teams that have been relegated as well. Leeds, Southampton. I want to go and do all of them, basically. So get your suggestions in down below in the comments too. But today, it's Arsenal. This has been the setup mainly just about. I've set up a tactic that I'm going to use. Might be tweaked when the new players come in, but players like Xhaka, probably going out. Well, he almost certainly is going to leave this summer. Players like Partey, will he still be in the side? Players like, if you scroll down here, these guys who I've not put into the squad, you think they're going to be sold. Players like, Holding, will he stay at the club? Players like Tierney linked with a move elsewhere. You've got Lokonga probably going to move on. Maitland-Niles' contract is up. You've got Al Neni probably going to have his contract expire too. We've got a lot of movement going on. Balogun coming back from his loan, probably going to be sold on too. I'm going to go and do some transfers from this place here where they use this three in midfield. Ødegaard pushing forward in behind the striker, which is a bit of a facilitator, and Gabriel Jesus. They've got Martinelli and Saka on these wings. Just so good, these two, and so young as well. Zinchenko playing this inverted role where he comes into the midfield to create a bit of a box here. It's a really cool system. I'm going to go and try and sign the right players to make it better for next year. And I will see you after I've done some big business. See you then. All right, I've done some business. A few calls here that I've had to really debate in my mind, and I'll try and talk you through my choices as I go through them as well. But the business that I've done this summer for Arsenal in my realistic rebuild is as follows. I've spent £190 million and brought in 3 players. I think with the prices of the players that you can see on the screen here, I don't expect there to be 5-6 signings coming in from Arsenal, because their main targets are going to be so expensive. If they manage to get them over the line, I think we can expect less transfers, if that makes sense. There's also potentially, if they do get their first choices, maybe expect to see less players leaving. If they end up going for the cheaper alternatives, maybe you'll see more leave because then they can buy more players, if you catch my drift. I've gone for the first choices because obviously that's, I think, what Arsenal will be aiming for. I've brought in, I think this is the big one, to be honest. I think this is the one that will improve them massively. I'm a huge fan of him. Declan Rice. £90 million is the price that I've put on him. It could end up even being more than that. It could be something where they structure a deal that is about, you know, a little bit less to start with, but more overall. But if they manage to bring in Declan Rice, I think Arsenal go to the next level. Seriously, I think he can improve them that much. Their midfield was so effective this year, Arsenal. I think Declan Rice is better than any of those players in that midfield. Maybe Erdegaard's a very different type of player, obviously. But Declan Rice could play in any, he could play as a 6, could play as an 8, could be game-changing for Arsenal. I think they have to go for him. £90 million what I've done. And I think they would hopefully, I think for them, hopefully anyway, quickly follow that up with Moyes' Caicedo. Ricedo! Arsenal fans, surely you'd be excited with that one. He would definitely be, these two would definitely be the first two choices for them. I think they're going to be rivaled. I think Chelsea are going to go big for Caicedo. I wouldn't be surprised if some other teams looked at him too. He's clearly going to leave Brighton with the way that you've had like De Zerbi talking about him at the end of the season alongside McAllister, who's gone to Liverpool. I think Caicedo to Arsenal makes a lot of sense. They really wanted to get him in January. It cost, I've put £80 million, but it could be even more than that. Again, it could be a case of structuring a deal. But if they get Caicedo and Rice, that midfield is so dynamic. There's so much pace and power in there. So good on the ball, so hardworking. I'm a bit worried. As a Liverpool fan, I'm a bit worried because those would be great signings. Alternatively, I said I'd talk you through my choices as well. Alternatively, if Caicedo just ends up being too much money, I would not be surprised if they move for somebody like Martin Zubimendi from Sociedad. He would cost around about £60 million with the release clause. £52 million in here, 60 million euros potentially. I could see this being a goer. I think if Caicedo ends up being too much money because a team like Chelsea pushes that price up, potentially I could see Zubimendi. Alternatively to Rice, I'm not really sure. I think they're going to go hard for Rice. The question mark over him is, does he end up going to Bayern Munich? I think personally he wants to stay in England, and I think he gets to stay living in London. I think Arsenal would be a really good move for him. So I think I could see it happening. 90 million, 80 million, 170 million between the two of them. That's a lot of money. If they do land these two, I think we won't see lots of other signings. I don't know if we'll see another position I think they would want to look at, which would be like a left winger or a player that can play attacking midfield as well as one on the wings. Somebody like a Fabio Vieira. I think that's why they brought him in. Something like that. I think they could look at maybe a Thuram on a free transfer. I think he might go to PSG though, Marcus Thuram, but I'm not sure. I think if they do get both of Caicedo and Rice, I think we might just see one other defender come in, and that's probably because of the players going out. And just, I think they need another one. I think they saw with Saliba's injury last year, they brought in Kiwior in January. With the Saliba's injury, though, I think they need one more defender. I think Mohamed Simikan makes a lot of sense. I think alternatively, we'll look at him in a second. Alternatively, Fresneda from Valladolid in Spain. A little bit more raw, 18 years old, a little bit younger, but a real talent. I think I could see him signing for another team. At this moment now, as I record this, it looks a little less likely, but he could be one on the list. I think they'd be getting a really good defender if they do bring in Mohamed Simikan for around about £20 million, £25 million, could be a little bit more, but that's pretty cheap in today's market. Can play centre-back, could cover Saliba, could play right-back too, covering Ben White. I think this one would be smart. I would go for these three, and I'd probably be happy if we brought in these three. I know that Arsenal fans, you're going to be talking about players like Cancelo. If they can go and get Cancelo from Manchester City, would be a great signing. I think he'd be too much money. I think City are going to look for about £60 million, £40 million. I think that maybe they do it. Maybe they hold out for this one. Would be an unbelievable signing. And as well as Gundogan, if he decides to leave Manchester City this summer on that free transfer and doesn't go to Barcelona, I'm sure Arsenal will be all over it as well. Maybe he would be the alternative to like a Caicedo or even like a Rice in there. I think these ones are the ones they go for. I'm well aware of some of the other links in there, though. Arsenal fans, let me know what you think of this. Would you be doing these three? Are there players you prefer to these ones? Let me know. I always want your comments, especially from the fans of the clubs that we're rebuilding in these videos. So do let me know. I think this would be a really good window. Of course, some money is going to need to come in. Not sure where Arsenal are on FIFA, on Fair Play, FFP, because they have spent quite a lot of money quietly over the past few years. I do wonder if they do need to sell some players too. I think there could be more than this. There could be more than this, but I just looked at a squad building angle. I don't think if they only bring in 3, I don't think they want to let too many leave because I don't think it's a massive squad. And with Champions League football now, I think they do need to be careful of this. I've put the levers for this summer to be following Balogun, £25 million. That seems like I've seen links and Arsenal fans saying that they want 40 million for him. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. If he goes for more than 25, I will happily say that I'm wrong. I just don't see it. I've put 25, and even to me, he's had one breakout season in France now. That feels like a lot, but if they can get it, fair play to them. I've put him to go to Leipzig as one of the teams he's linked with at the moment. Maybe it could be AC Milan, Inter Milan. There are a few teams in for him as well. Maybe even go back to France where he's been so successful this year. Granit Xhaka looks like it's all but done going to Bayer Leverkusen. 15 million seems like a decent price for him. I put Nicolas Pepe going back to France, which I think would be his preference. £12.5 million would be a huge loss on a player that cost them £72 million. He had an okay season at Nice. I don't think they're going to take up the option to sign him permanently. Could you see him go to a team like West Ham? Possibly. Team like Newcastle, I think, were linked with him, but he wanted to go back to France in January. So I think I've got him going to Lille in this one. 12.5, maybe a little bit more, but I think that's maybe asking a little bit too much. Other players going out, we've got Lokonga. I could see him go to Burnley. This is my little punt here. Vincent Kompany is the manager. He had him at Anderlecht when he was there. A good signing, Premier League proven. Don't think Palace are going to keep him. I don't think Roy Hodgson fancied him. Obviously, a new manager coming in there. Maybe they'd look to try and keep him around. But Burnley, £8 million. I think that's about fair enough. Maybe a little bit more, but we'll see on that one. Pablo Mari looks like he's going to stay at Monza after his loan on about 4 million, 5 million euros-ish. And then you've got some players leaving on a free as well, which does include Charlie Patino, which is a bit of a sad one. He's gone to Newcastle on this save on a free. Quite highly rated, but it looks like he wants to go and get that first team football or maybe more chances in the first team than he was going to get at Arsenal. That's my window. I'll just go to the squad and the tactic and how I think they might set up with these players. But just to go through 3 extra players on here too. In fact, just the subs here, really. There are 1 or 2 players that I could see moving if a good bid does come in. Players like Jorginho. Seems like a weird one, but if he gets a big bid from a Napoli or a Milan or something like this, I could see him moving on. Don't think it's very likely though. Just to go through as well, players like Nelson, I've given him his new contract, which he looks likely to sign. I've given Saliba his new contract as well, which is maybe the most important signing they will make this summer, Arsenal. That is huge for them, getting him locked down for the next few years. Really, really good news that's come out quite recently as I record this. Other players though, Nketiah, big bid, would he leave? I think they just need numbers. I think if he left, they'd probably have to strengthen them. Maybe they keep Balogun, but I'm not sure either are good enough, and Nketiah as a backup isn't the worst, I don't think. Partey, really interesting narrative around him at the moment. I don't think he looked great towards the end of the season. Will he stay at the club with Rice coming in? I guess if they get a big bid, I think they'd quite happily sell him. Tierney doesn't look like Arteta fancies him in this inverted role that he comes into. I wonder if they get a bid for him, would they sign somebody else who could be a little bit more comfortable doing what Zinchenko does, as really playing like a midfielder, isn't he? Potentially. Smith Rowe, back from injury. Will he go and look for first team football? Potentially. Rob Holding, don't think he's good enough. Will they sell him? Possibly. If they get a big bid, yes. Or even a bid of any kind, I think they'd sell him. Alternatively, I could see them just hanging on to him because he's going to drop down the pecking order with players like Simakan coming in. I think they might just hold on to him as a squad player. I could see Cedric staying, you know. Is that a weird thought? Cedric coming back from his loan at Southampton. I mean, he could easily go, couldn't he? But as like a 6th, 7th choice in that defence, I mean, as a backup at this right back, in this system, I don't think he'd be the worst option. And I could just see him being a real backup squad option and staying around weirdly. Nuno Tavares, I didn't really know what to do with him, but I think he probably leaves. And I think we might just, maybe I'll sell him now. Maybe I'll offer him out and just see what happens to him. But he's probably one that does leave. But will he stay around? And especially if Tierney leaves, of course, there are moving parts. I've left him at the club right now. He's going to be a backup for me in this simulation. We're going to go from here. I've set them up in the same system that they used last year, but there might be changes to this. Like, will Caicedo be as attacking as Xhaka ended up being last year? Will it be actually like an Erdegaard in here and you've got two two sixes in behind who are sixes that aren't really sixes. They're more like a double pivot. They get forward. Will it end up looking like this, I was wondering, with Ødegaard playing and just sitting a bit further forward? Because you've got the legs of Caicedo and Rice to literally just bomb forward, bomb back, and do all of that hard work in that midfield. This could be quite fun. You then add Zinchenko in behind them. It becomes a bit of a diamond. And I'll set them up how they might look in possession, which kind of becomes, if I can move you into the middle, like this in possession, where you got Zinchenko picking up the ball, Caicedo and Rice just forwards, backwards, up and down, and then Ødegaard in behind in this 10 role in behind Jesus. Like, that's a really fun setup for me, and that's how it would probably look in possession. I've left them like this for now. I'm gonna, oh, not like this, sorry, I should say. I've left them like this for now, but it could easily change. I mean, that is absolutely wrong now with the players all over the place because I move them around. Let's put them back to how they should be. Caicedo here. Just a note on Caicedo. Could see him playing games at right back as well at times. He can do that, can't he? Which could be quite interesting too. Something like this, though, is what I'm going to go and simulate the season with now. Can they challenge Manchester City at the top of that table? In fact, that is wrong. Let's swap those back over. Let's go and find out with a quick little simulation just for fun. Before we do that, let me know what you think. Comments down below. Is this a good window for Arsenal? Is this what you expect them to do? Is it realistic? Let me know, and I'll see you after this simulation, and hopefully they do well. See you then. Okay, so here I am then, back from the simulation of 1 year, and Arsenal have won the league. They've gone and actually won the league. In spite of Erling Haaland scoring 35 league goals, Arsenal are champions. So maybe, just maybe, Arsenal fans, get excited, because maybe it could happen. It's happened here, look. They've got themselves 83 points. It's actually a really low points total for a league winner. But maybe this is what City need. Maybe now, maybe we'll see this. Who knows? With City now winning the treble, will we see them drop off a little bit? Potentially. They've got themselves 83 points, Arsenal, which was enough to clinch it over City in second, Liverpool in third. Very close title race with potentially 4 teams. Villa getting Champions League football by finishing 4th. United also getting Champions League football by finishing 5th because of the new system, the new structure of that competition. They finished 5th and got there. Look at that. Chelsea still down in 9th despite that. They need a rebuild. Maybe we need to do a video on those. Arsenal, though, did the business. Here are the results, as also they made the Champions League final. First time back in the competition. They got to the final where they were absolutely decimated by Real Madrid. But we ignore that because it was a great run all the way to the final where maybe they were a bit unlucky. 17 shots, look, in this final here. You see the 11. It's a bit interesting, actually, considering the way that we set the team up. It's Partey starting in midfield with Jorginho. Played loads of games. The AI choosing to ignore Declan Rice in midfield and use him at centre-back instead of Gabriel quite a lot of the time, with Partey starting a load of games too. Interesting. I'll show you the results, or show you the, oh well, there you go, just to show you as well. Champions League final, other results in the other competitions. They won the league. They lost in the quarter-final of the FA Cup to West Brom and the semi-final of the Carabao Cup to Liverpool. Let's have a look at the player stats here by going to the tactics screen. Ramsdale started every game in goal, 60 games in total. Ben White played 44 at right back. You can see that really it was quite established, but with some weird things going on in midfield. We had Ben White. There was still 41 games from Gabriel, so he did play a load of games, and Rice did play in midfield a lot of the time. But one that really didn't work, or FM didn't like, was the Caicedo decision to play him in as a centre mid. Only 11 starts for him with, look at this, 48 games, 48 starts even for Jorginho. They seem to really, really fancy him in that midfield instead. Also lots of games for Partey, 26, lots of games for Tierney at left back with 23. Smith Rowe got 13, 16 for Trossard, 15 for Vieira. They did use all of the squad by getting so far in those competitions, but ultimately, maybe the AI knows best because they won themselves the league. Arsenal fans, do you believe that this could happen? Can anybody stop Manchester City right now? Will we see a resurgence of teams like Liverpool, Manchester United? Will Newcastle go again? Will Spurs be back closer there? Seems unlikely, but they've got Ange now as manager. Will Chelsea buy more players in the summer and get closer to that top 4? I guess that's all up for debate, isn't it? I guess we'll talk about it in future videos like this one. More realistic rebuilds. Who do you want to see next? Let me know. Will it be Chelsea? Will it be Spurs? Will it be Newcastle? Could be an interesting one. Manchester United, always an interesting one too. Let me know what you want to see in those comments down below. But I think we'll leave it there for today. Well done, Arsenal. Premier League champions for the first time since 2006 or something like that. Even maybe before, I don't actually know. Something like that anyway. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel if you're looking forward to those future videos. If you did enjoy it too, please do leave a like on the video as well. It helps to push it out to a bigger audience, which is the kind of aim of these videos, to try and see who wants to come and watch the rest of my content. We're aiming for 50,000 subscribers. You can help with that by subscribing right now. But most importantly, have a lovely rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.